Hello everyone, I'm Ollie. I'm CEO of London United. We're a grassroots esports organisation that's using gaming as a form of highlighting social issues, and our current campaign is the Yop Esports Champs with the Mayor of London's office and a variety of outreach partners. And today we're delighted to have you join us for the social media management session this week and next week. And obviously the aim is that we have some Twitch broadcasts later this month, and we can utilize some of your content to showcase the skills that you learn from these workshops ahead of the FIFA and NBA 2K competitions. Just as a reminder for those that have joined and haven't put on their cameras, I won't name you, but please turn on your cameras. It's a condition of participation. Thank you very much. You will have received a notice when you joined that the session is being filmed, and obviously the content will be put out on social media as well via YouTube. And without further ado, I would like to pass over to Billy Abbott, who is from Morley College, Chelsea, to lead the session.
Lovely. Hello, everyone. My name is Billy Abbott, and as Oliver has said, I'm the subject leader for media and esports at Morley College, London. I'm also a filmmaker, so a freelance cinematographer, and I also manage a rock band as well. So interestingly, I kind of come at this approach from not only as a knowledgeable esports man, but also someone who's in the filmmaking and music industries. I just wanted to go around and allow our wonderful industry individuals to introduce themselves. So could I just ask Clem to introduce himself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Clem Murphy. I'm the social community lead at Fnatic. We are a dedicated esports organisation that's been around for more than 15 years.
Amazing, thank you, Clem. And Luke, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, morning everyone. My name's Luke. I'm the media manager at Leyton Orient Football Club, based over in East London. My role is quite a varied one, but I'll be speaking to you a bit today about our social media and what we've been doing there, and a few other bits and pieces, which hopefully will give you a bit of insight.
Amazing, thank you, Luke. And last but not least, Abigail, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Abby. I'm one of the social media producers and the presenter at Man City, obviously the football club. So we have plenty of accounts. We've obviously got the men's, women's teams, but we've obviously got our esports account as well. So today I was just going to take you through tone of voice and how you portray yourselves across to an audience and bridge that gap with fans. So yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys later.
Amazing, thank you guys. So I'm sure you'll agree it's a talent-packed session, and I just want to take you through some of the fundamentals and begin sharing my screen. So in the classic fashion of online learning nowadays, could someone just please confirm they can see my presentation?
Yeah, we got you.
You're all good.
Yeah,
All good, brilliant, excellent. Okay guys, so really excited to present the session today in partnership with London United, and of course we've got some fantastic people today. You guys have been sent the safeguarding policy, I believe, but of course, as you guys know, the session is being recorded, and if you could keep your cameras on for the duration. So how is it going to go this morning? We've just introduced you guys to some of the people involved here. So we've got Clem, Luke and Abby from Fnatic, Leyton Orient and Man City respectively, and they are the people with the amazing knowledge on how this is being used in industry. But before we get into that, I thought I'd give you guys a bit of a session schedule. So I'm going to take you guys through an introduction and some fundamentals of social media management and give you guys some of the context that is underpinning our industry at the moment. And then we're going to have kind of 10-minute-ish respective showcases from each of our industry participants. So we've got Clem, who will talk a little bit about Fnatic, Viral, and the amazing stuff they're doing. We've got Luke from Leyton Orient talking about a particularly brilliant campaign they ran during COVID-19. And we've got Abby talking about tone of voice and how to connect with fans. So we are ram-packed today. What I'm going to suggest is that we have a short break to get some water-ish at about 10 to 11. And then we'll come back and we'll do breakout rooms with our respective industry participants. And I've got a kind of interesting question for you guys to discuss. And then we'll round off the session with a brief where I'm going to ask you guys to produce some content ready for next week. And just to tease for that, there will be 2 winners who could receive some excellent gifts. So looking forward to communicating that to you. So I want to kick off with, and thank you to Clem for this, some really pertinent and very relevant contemporary statistics to do with gaming and entertainment. And these are some really quite eye-watering statistics on where gaming is currently placed in our industry. 37% of people on the internet globally are gamers in 2020. We have 200 million users on YouTube, 195 million on Twitch, and you will notice there, Netflix, the ever popular, powerful Netflix, people watch games more than they do television or films or music at the moment, and that's illustrated in these infographics here. So it's a huge industry, and I was just saying to everyone before we started this session, as someone in filmmaking and music, and it's kind of seen this incredible rise of gaming to be the powerhouse of internet streaming and engagement. Another fantastic statistic for you guys from a Social Bakers report is that esports viewers in the United States, esports is second just behind NFL. And we're in this amazing society now where people are watching esports more than they are Major League Baseball or NBA or any of the major sports in the US, rather, except for NFL. So it's boomed to the point where we have huge engagement, huge viewers, and this is a significant part of our culture. Another thing to tickle the fancy is that during the pandemic, esports community growth has risen significantly compared to sports growth. So interestingly, of course, we have those crossovers between sports and esports. And we have today Leyton, Orient and Manchester City, who of course have football teams and they have esports communities. And interestingly, the pandemic has had a huge positive impact on the growth of esports communities and in interactions, as opposed to a decline in sports. So we are seeing a shift in the way people interact with media. We're seeing a shift in the way people engage with things, and we're seeing a shift in the manner in which people are looking for content in their respective spheres. So where is the conversation happening at the moment? You guys who are interested in esports and are participating in esports, this is a infographic from 2018, so things have changed a little bit, but this is where the conversation is happening in esports. And you'll notice that Twitter hosts a quite significant percentage of content related to where people focus their attention on. And what Twitter is acting as is where audiences go for the latest esports news and the reactions to that. And Instagram tends to be where audiences go to engage with esports meme culture. And they look at imagery there and of course following their favorite individuals. And then we have, it's important to mention, the YouTube community, of course, where the videos lie. Tumblr, which is still going strong in terms of performance tables, discussion and visual content. And of course, forums like Reddit, which essentially host a series of dedicated communities towards different scenes. So you guys could quite easily go on to Reddit and you could find specific subreddits and forums on, say, Overwatch, on FIFA, competitive gaming, on Dota 2 and all that kind of thing. So we live in a world where our interactions are being broken up into different platforms, and inevitably certain platforms tend to become more prominent in certain scenes due to the way that they are constructed and their target audience. So allow me to introduce you to the champions of the esports conversation. So these tend to be the most predominantly used social platforms when we discuss esports. And whilst they're not the only ones, it's important to remember that whilst these two might be quite popular for people who are into esports and engaging in social media, they aren't the entire conversation. So you'll tend to find that if you're interested in creating social media content, you will heavily use Twitter and Instagram, but you will also engage with things like Facebook and YouTube and direct your assets towards different mediums for different audiences. However, it's important for you guys to know about target audience. And I use the term target audience to define the fact that certain platforms are targeted towards certain age ranges or genders or anything along those lines about who you want to appeal to. So interestingly, 44% of 16 to 24-year-olds, which you guys fall into, use Twitter, and 75% of that same demographic use Instagram. So what I want you guys to understand is that if you are creating content to target a certain audience, you're going to want to carefully pick the platform you use and the manner in which you communicate to your audience. So Instagram, for example, has the fantastic feature of being able to showcase everyday life alongside images which you can populate in your feed. Twitter has the advantage of you guys being able to communicate in written form and cater your tone of voice to the audience, and that will be the main thing they focus on. So these two are the ones we're going to ask you guys to focus your work on when we get a bit further through the presentation. And it's particularly important to note, guys, that Twitter has a heavily inbuilt trend system, which means you can capitalize on that to gain an audience. Okay, so we've given you guys some context. We talked about where the esports industry is sitting at the moment. Let's talk about the 3 pillars of social media. And these 3 things are the ones that I want you guys to focus on in terms of how you would build a following, how you would build a wonderful brand, a wonderful image for yourself. And they are engagement, consistency, and being human, or authenticity. So we want to use these 3 pillars to construct an image for ourselves, and brands will focus on these 3 pillars in order to try and reach their target audience and to make sure that they are staying engaged, and that if they see an advert on the street, they think, oh, fantastic, I've seen all of that stuff on social media, I'm looking forward to buying that product. So just to run through these, it's extremely important that when we're creating social media content online, there is an authenticity that shines through from you guys. And I just picked a few examples here from our respective industry professionals. So, for example, Shells, who is, of course, signed at Manchester City Esports. Look how authentic this picture is. It's just a genuine photo. And whilst it's promoting something, what it's actually showcasing is that that individual is enjoying himself. There's no kind of extra sales pitch on it, which we'll talk about. It's just authentic. And Fnatic Techs, he uses his Twitter to kind of give an almost rundown of his thoughts and his day-to-day life. Now, back in my day, social media was seen as something where we present a perfect image of ourselves and that we maybe gloss over some of the other aspects. But nowadays, the generation you guys live in is social media is authentic, and people engage best with content they feel is the real person they're looking at. So we shouldn't shy away from the fact that you should be you on a page. Of course, hide those bits where you're going out drinking and all that kind of thing. Not that you guys will, because you're a bit young for that. But you want to hide those kind of things. But you do want to showcase who you are as a person, because personality shines above all else. Something for you guys to be aware of is that consistency, and we were talking about this earlier actually, is consistency is the biggest thing when it comes to gaining an audience and slowly building a brand. Now, it's quite unlikely that for you guys who are creating social media content as young people, or for you guys starting a brand, it's unlikely that you're going to go viral overnight. And this is a misconception given to us by the world we live in. If you open your TikTok, you'll see loads of people who have gone viral, suddenly got 1 million followers. But for the majority of people, what you're looking at is a marathon, and you're looking at building a strong image which consistently grows over time. Now, there are a lot of positives to that approach, because instead of becoming viral overnight and having to suddenly come up with something, if you slowly build your audience, which the majority of you will, you can start to cater how you want to be seen by the public. So please be aware that not all posts get thousands of interactions. And in fact, if you look at any social media channel, you'll see that 9 out of 10 times, there might be 1,000 likes on it, but that one post that really hits a viral market may get that significant exposure. So consistency and how you plan your social media is one of the biggest things you guys can do for your brands and for yourselves growing as individuals in this industry. I personally love the video with Sergio Aguero kind of shouting "Stop killing me" as he's playing. And this is all to do with engagement. So content that people want to engage with is king on the internet. So for all of the wonderful stuff you're putting out, inevitably certain things are going to appeal to people and buy them into your brand and exposure. So people are going to want to see videos of their favorite athletes playing a video game and getting that reaction from them. And the reason for that is because they don't usually see it. And seeing someone like Sergio Aguero, who of course is a professional footballer, get killed over and over again on a video game is something that traditionally would not have been ever seen. So the fact that it's now available to you online drives engagement, and people like to see things that are a bit different. Similarly, people like to see things that they can get engaged in and gain something from it. So for example, the Fnatic competition here with a giveaway, not only do they get a wonderful video to engage with and look at, they also get the chance to win something if they obey or buy into that brand. So what you guys should be doing is trying to create eventually content that people can engage with and get something from it. And we're going to talk shortly about how we structure engaging content. So how do you gain an audience? And we're in a world where there's a lot of people very good at specific things. People can be jack of all trades and people can be good at lots of things, and that's absolutely fine. But when it comes to social media, my strongest recommendation would be to pick a niche that you enjoy or are really good at. So pick something that you know, pick something you enjoy, and then become consistent with posting across your channels. And there is plenty of software that allows you guys to consistently post without having to do it every single day yourself, and you can schedule posts and you become consistent. You need to continue to refine your image and voice. Try new things, keep it fresh and don't stagnate. So if you're doing the same thing every day, you might hit this point where you think, okay, well, what am I doing this for? And I'd recommend that you try new things and involve other people in that. Use analytics to help develop an overview of your audience. So in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of these different platforms now have analytics built into that to allow you guys to gain insight into who is engaging with your posts. So if you find out you have a significant demographic of people in the 16 to 24 range, it means you know you need to create content to target them more, or it might mean you need a separate strategy to try and gain people over the age of 24. Finally, expand and collaborate, get involved in the community. It's brilliant for you guys to be professionally sports or want to be professionally sports gamers or in the industry. The way you're going to do that is by getting involved in the community, trying different things out. Why not make a video with a friend? Why not make something different with someone you've never met before? Shoot some messages out, see who you can collaborate with. And above all, guys, be proactive, keep pushing and learning some new skills. So, a formula you may not have heard of. Now, it's worth saying this isn't a rule. This is a guideline that's been disseminated across platforms for quite a while now. It's called the 70-20-10 formula. So when you guys are considering posting on social media, this is a guideline for how much percentage of content should be dedicated to a certain area. So 70% of that content, the formula suggests, should be building your own brand image and adding value for your target audience. 20% theoretically should be shared from other sources and relevant and informative, and only 10% of your content on social media should be directly promotional, or what we call calls to action. And you guys might be sitting there thinking, so why on earth am I using social media and then only 10% of my content is actually promoting my brands directly? And the reason for that is because the other 90% is creating that image for you, and it's creating a recognition and a trust, and it's making sure you avoid a sales pitch. Now, we all dislike a salesperson turning up at the door and trying to force sell you something. And I want you guys to keep that in mind for your social media. Is you should be creating a wonderful image for people and a visual fidelity, wonderful content that appeals to different demographics. And you should be buying them into your image, not because of what you're selling, but because of what you represent. And then when it comes to it, those people are more likely to invest in you and your brand when they have been kind of bought in. So to give you guys some examples of that, another way to look at this would be for 70% of your social media content to be freebies, and that's kind of just free stuff for your audience. So photos, videos, memes, graphics, interviews, all that different kind of thing. 20% of your content could be relevant shares from the industry, so news, products, maybe even feedback from someone you've worked with or a viewer, something like that. And then 10% should be your promotion, for example, deals, products, services, asking people to invest in your crowdfunder, asking people to follow you on Twitch, all that different kind of thing. So you should be aiming to buy your audience in to what you're doing. And to think about that in the big wide world. Now, I often talk to people and they think, oh, if I watch an advert for Coca-Cola, I'm not going to just buy Coca-Cola. But actually the studies say you are, and it's all about brand awareness. Now, as you walk down the street and you see all these ads flying by you, and as you're on your phone on Instagram, seeing all these ads on your Instagram stories, sure, you're not going to just go and buy that product right then and there, but there are very strong theories and research that suggest that consistent exposure to a brand makes you much more likely to invest in that brand. So consider how you market yourself, and how, when it comes to that 10% of you giving people like, please invest in me, how do you want to speak to your audience? You don't want to appear like that salesman at the door. You want to appear like a friendly person that encourages them to come into your world, and then hit them with something really, really fantastic. And last but not least, before I hand over to some of our industry wonderfuls who know a lot more about this than me in the industry, I want to talk about memes, because memes, back in my day, again, to use that reference, and I'm not too old, but back in my day, memes were seen as a kind of purely joke content that just made people laugh online. And now we're in a world, say 10 years later, where memes are the principal form of content online to engage people. And I want you guys to consider that they do all of the things that we like to see in one single image. You've got humor, which makes people laugh. It's light-hearted. It often has a text component to it, so you can cater your tone of voice to how you want to appear on the meme. And it's authentic because it's funny, and it's aiming a bit of a joke at the community we're in. So I included this FIFA meme, which I found particularly funny, actually, when I found it. So it's the most effective way to communicate in a light-hearted, engaging manner. So please consider memes as something you guys can use to stretch and challenge your audience and get them to buy into it. Now, if I was to ask everyone in chat to say whether they actually did follow a meme page on their Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or Facebook, I imagine nearly 100% of you would say, yes, I follow some kind of meme page. And that would mean that, therefore, 100% of the people in this chat who are esports fans engage with memes online. So therefore, if I'm growing my brand, if I use memes, I'm quite likely to hit that target audience perfectly. So on that note, I'd like to hand over, and I'm going to ask Clem, if he wouldn't mind, to talk us through something he's prepared. And hopefully you find that initial fundamentals very useful. We're going to hand over to the experts, and then we're going to come back and just reintroduce things before break time.
Cool, thank you, Billy. Hey everyone, I'm Clem. I introduce myself again. I'm social and community lead at Fnatic. So Fnatic are an esports organization that's been working and operating for almost 15 years now, which in esports time makes us pretty much dinosaurs. We're one of the oldest and most successful, most well-known esports brands in the world. And maybe if you haven't heard of us, I'd like to quickly share my screen with you guys. Can I just double check if this video is working? The sound? Can we hear that?
So yeah.
Yeah, perfect, great. This is a video we created for our most recent crowdfunding campaign, but it gives you probably the best short overview of Fnatic that we have at the moment.
We are Fnatic. For years we forged a legacy. Esports history is our history. We've won hundreds of titles, entertained millions, and built legends. But we couldn't have done it without our community. Together we've come a long way. But it's the next chapter which is most exciting. A chapter shaped by you. We're offering you a chance to own a piece of the future. A future where gaming, sports, music and culture come together. A piece of Fnatic. Join our mission to seek out and level up the next generation of gamers.
Cool. So that video is obviously good for our crowdfunding campaign, created directly for that, but gives a really good overview as to everything that we do. So Fnatic is a brand that is focused on championing the performers, is how we call it. So that means that whether you are one of the best esports players in the world or a streamer that streams to your community, us at Fnatic, we want to invest in you and we want to help you to reach a new level. So we went through the video. So we started back in 2005. Our founder, Sam Matthews, sold his car to be able to send the very first Fnatic team out to play Counter-Strike in the United States. And you can see here some videos of esports ancient history. You know, 5 or 6 nerdy boys sat around computers playing very old shooter games was kind of where it all started. fast forward to today, where esports has grown into this worldwide phenomenon. League of Legends Worlds has been one of the biggest events that we compete in regularly, with more than 200 million worldwide viewers competing in stadiums, 50,000 seater stadiums in Korea, Japan, Paris. There was one in London a while back as well. So this is, how far we have come from these kind of dark, dingy back rooms of hotels with 5 guys playing for prizes like mouse pads, to competing for millions in these big stadiums in front of all these people. So that's a little bit of the journey that Fnatic has been on, and we've been pretty much the front and center of esports ever since then. So we've won 370 medals, 30 titles, 209 championships, 16 million total social followers, and won more than $15 million in prize money. The BBC called us the esports equivalent of Real Madrid. So we also have people and offices and teams all over the world. So we have our HQ in London, beautiful office in Shoreditch that unfortunately we're not able to be in at the moment. We also have our League of Legends team based in Berlin. We have a Rainbow Six team based in Australia who are soon to relocate to Japan. We have an operational hub in India where we have a PUBG mobile team, as well as operations in Shanghai, Serbia, and Taiwan as well. We have 8 different gaming teams, more than 130 different influencers and streamers who stream under the Fnatic banner, and 35 players or esports athletes. You may, if you're more of a FIFA kind of person, know Tex. Tex and Harry are both our 2 FIFA pros, and once the season kicks off properly, we're confident that one of those 2 is going to win in each of the categories, which means we have not just our kind of main League of Legends, Counter-Strike games to think about, but also this FIFA audience, which for us, we're going to be doubling down on in a really big way this year. So in terms of our social, we have this huge global community. Obviously, being around for so long in all of these different titles, playing in all these different tournaments, we've collected and touched on lots of different communities along the way. And that means we've picked up almost 16 million social followers overall, with an average monthly reach of about 74 million. So that, if you think, and that's individual people. So we reach 74 million people every single month with the content that we put out there. That's kind of insane to think about, and also insane to think about that it's just me that's responsible for that. So that includes several million followers on Facebook. We have several different Facebook pages that we manage, 3.4 million Twitter followers, 3.2 million followers on Twitch, 2.6 million on Instagram, almost 600,000 on YouTube, 240,000 on Weibo, which is a kind of Chinese Facebook Twitter equivalent, and 30,000 followers on VK, which is a Russian social network site. And you can see here from some of this geographic stuff that we are a huge global fan base. And this is something that, as a social media lead, that we really need to pay attention to, that we aren't just talking to European or North American people or fans. We have to communicate to people all over the world in different languages, different time zones, with different types of content and in different ways. Interestingly, our Dota 2 team, who's based in Malaysia, for them, as a Southeast Asian team with Thai players, Malaysian players, Indonesian players, that Facebook is the #1 social network for them, and they don't use Twitter at all. So we have to really adapt when we're talking about Dota 2 and think about what is the best way to reach that audience. So how do we keep this global audience entertained? First of all, we have recently, in the past year, rebranded. And that means we simplified our brand a little bit to create something that was really strong and visually appealing, that could allow us to really adapt what Fnatic is to lots and lots of different forms and be quite flexible with how we communicate. We wanted to create this logo that fits really well, just as well on our social pages and on our social graphics as it does on, say, a jersey or a t-shirt, or like this one I'm wearing now. It's so we went back and we thought, okay, let's simplify everything that Fnatic is into something really nice and modern that would allow us the freedom to create really cool content. So as Billy was saying, there is a certain way or a certain kind of best practice you can use to create like viral meme fun content. So I'm going to look at one specific post that we created this year during Worlds. Now this is something that if you're not a League of Legends fan and you're not kind of deep into the esports meme game, then might be a little bit over your head, but bear with me. I promise there's some useful stuff in here. So I think the most common thing that makes a social media manager kind of roll their eyes and bang their head on the desk is when somebody asks, can you make this go viral? Can you make my post go viral? Please help me to make this go viral. So how do you make a post go viral? I think the straight up and the real answer, honest answer, is you can't. The example I like to use is that in as social media managers and as people that put out this kind of content, we're entertainers. Right. And if you think about it, like we're playing music on stage, asking someone to make a post go viral was like asking someone to say, make the audience dance. You can't make the audience dance unless you got off the stage and started moving their arms around. But you can encourage them. You can manage that audience by creating consistent and engaging content that if you just keep doing that and keep creating this kind of energy, eventually you'll be there at the right time and the right place. So timing is really important. This is obviously something that, to go back to this post, we were playing in League of Legends Worlds, as I've already described. It's one of the biggest tournaments in esports. It's huge, it's global, everybody's got their eyes on us. And we had one of our players, Withey, who was playing out of his mind, doing super well, smashed it in the last round, and we were playing against the team in the next round, the supposedly best team in the world. So the fans started talking about like Withey being this, larger than life, like carry character who could completely dominate them and, would carry us to victory. So this wide Withey meme came about, and some of our community started using it. And we, as good social managers, were watching it and seeing that people were finding this kind of funny in a weird way and engaging. So we got Withey, the guy himself, to do some weird wide walk dance thing, and then edited it and posted that, and it became our most engaged social post on Twitter. So that is just about understanding the community vibe. Being part of being a fan is really important as a social media manager. Understanding what the fans are talking about and what things they want to see. But also the most important thing is just to be in the right place at the right time with the right thing. So reacting to something that is going on in your community with the kind of perfect response is really the best you can get towards having a post go viral. But if you think you've got the secret sauce and you think this is absolutely perfect and you put it out there and it bombs, don't be discouraged, because this is the kind of thing that you just have to keep going and keep trying. It's all about consistency, and so that's why as a social media manager, you have to have a good knowledge of your community, a good sense of timing, the ability to be reactive to things that are happening in the community. But at the same time, not everything is going to work exactly the way you want it to. So you have to keep developing your audience and building out the number of people that you have following you, so that when you do finally hit that perfect sweet spot and you have that audience that's there to engage with it, it can break out way beyond your own audience and start hitting people and communities that you don't usually get to speak to. And that's really the secret to how a post goes viral, is to break it out beyond just your current audience. So that's everything from me. Hopefully it was a quick whistle-stop tour of everything that Fnatic is and does, and what my job is as a social media manager here, and a couple of little pieces that I hope should be useful. if anybody would like to ask me more questions, we could do so in the breakout session afterwards.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Clem. That's brilliant. We had a quick question from Oliver, which maybe we'll just cover now if it takes not long. Is so Clem, you got 572 comments on that viral post. Who reads them all and decides which to answer?
Well, it's me and my team do. We go through and we try to read as much as possible. A lot of, when it comes to viral posts like that, particularly kind of funny ones, most of the comments are just lol in different ways, or, you know, crying smiley faces. So there's not really that much to kind of reply to or engage with. But we do have quite a lot of responses from you know, big community members, people with themselves big followings. So we try and pick and choose kind of what are the opportunities there that we can, you know, add to the content. Sometimes, you know, on platforms like Facebook or Reddit, where it's much more about kind of conversation and responses and community, responding to as much as possible is a really good idea. Twitter is a little bit less so, that, you know, if you can add something to the post or add something to the content that you've already put out there, then that is when you would want to go in and respond to things.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Clem. Brilliant. So can we hand over to Luke, please?
Can indeed. Let me just find where my presentation is. I think we're good to go here. Can you all see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So thanks, Clem. I found that really interesting. A lot of stuff you're going through, kind of reinforcing what I'll cover, which is always good to hear, to know you're not just making it up as you go along. I'm going to talk about something that we came across in the summer, in a kind of weird time when we'd just gone into lockdown and no one really knew what they were doing, and social media people, and especially in football, were kind of scratching their head in terms of, okay, well, there's no football now and we're a football club, so what are we going to do? And we came up with the idea of a tournament called Ultimate Quarantine, which we'll go through a bit now. If you didn't see what it was essentially a global FIFA tournament that we started in the absence of real life football. We looked at getting, well, first of all, we looked at 64 teams in terms of joining the competition. And in a very short period of time, we realized actually we can probably double that. So we ended up with 128 real teams from across the world. And it was really interesting in terms of who was playing. We had a mix of esports players, professional footballers, fans, all sorts of people who are representing their clubs, and in a way, kind of trying to fill that void of football that had been stopped because of lockdown. So I'll come on to a bit more information as we go on, but essentially, I'm going to talk through about kind of how it started, and as Clem was saying, about reacting to the kind of landscape and understanding your own communities and trying to take it beyond your own communities. So how it started, we'll look back at something that Man City were involved in, actually, when Southampton tried to start a game of noughts and crosses with Norwich. And we saw, once Man City got involved and a lot of other clubs started doing it as well, that we saw that there was a real kind of desire and interest for clubs to interact with each other in a way that we'd never really seen before. Usually in football, it's, okay, you prepare for your next game, you talk about your teams, you go, you win or you lose, and you kind of move on. And you don't really talk to other football teams. It's kind of not really what you do. It's a bit of a strange concept to do that. And if you do, you're probably doing it in a kind of tongue-in-cheek way or trying to point score or something. But we saw in this moment that everyone was kind of in the same boat. Football had stopped, and we were like, okay, well, what's going on here? So when I kind of saw this, and teams were kind of playing noughts and crosses, and I think I remember seeing Hull playing some Dutch team at midnight one night, and everything was just a bit weird. And I had a conversation with my my media assistant Dan, and he was saying, should we get in that? Should we do a tournament around noughts and crosses? And for me, I was kind of looking at that and thinking, well, maybe the horse has bolted on that one. How can we kind of take that idea and take what we've learned already, and try to make it maybe that bit more and a bit more engaging, and something that fans can really get behind. So that's when we came up with the idea of the FIFA tournament. Literally just as we were about to launch, I thought about a branding idea. So we threw quarantine on there to kind of represent the situation we were in, to give it that kind of feeling of community as well. You know, we're all stuck in quarantine. So let's kind of like rally around the same idea. And the way we did it, I think, seemed to work really well for us, because what we needed was for clubs to get involved. We essentially needed them to retweet it. So as Clement was saying a minute ago about taking things beyond your own community, as soon as we saw other football clubs retweeting it, we saw their fans getting involved. And it just kind of snowballed from there. As I said, overnight, we had our 64 teams sign up from all across the world, teams in Australia, teams in the US, teams across Europe, you know, all over the UK, Scotland, Ireland, Premier League teams. Man City obviously came forward with their esports team. We had Norwich City come forward with Todd Cantwell playing for them. Crystal Palace had Andros Townsend playing for them, and really quickly it blew up into something that was, I think we knew it would have legs, but I think to the level it got to, I don't think we were really prepared in terms of the media interest and just how quickly we were at the center of something which was a lot bigger than us, really. And a big part of that throughout our kind of campaign was our tone of voice. I know something that Abby's going to come on to a little bit later. But we kind of saw this as a unique opportunity. And tone of voice is crucial in terms of how you speak to your audience. And what we realized here is that for a very short period of time, our audience was different. It wasn't just Leyton Orient fans, it was people in South Africa, it was people in Australia, it was the esports world who we've never spoken to before. All of a sudden we'd gone from, here's our Leyton Orient fans, to bang, here's the whole, you know, footballing world looking at what we're trying to do right here. So we looked at that and thought, okay, let's try and do something a bit different. And it was a bit, sometimes it was, you know, easy to just go and think, oh, you know, this is really serious now, we've got loads of people, we've got to coordinate this, coordinate that. But we just tried to stay fun and lighthearted at the center of it. The worst thing that would happen in the world is, you know, something would go wrong with a game of FIFA. No one's going to die. So really, it was just trying to keep that kind of sense of, you know, we're all in this together, sharing the moment. You know, everyone's stuck indoors at the moment. So let's try and do this together. You know, we don't know exactly where we're going with this, but, you know, we're all in the same boat. And then to add to that, we added a fundraising element. So it's not so much sales as so that 10% earlier we were talking about, but it did have a sense of, look, we are doing this and we are having a bit of fun with it, but we're also trying to raise money for some worthy causes. So our tone of voice kind of stuck beyond them. So in terms of means, throwing one of our own in, we drew, sorry, we didn't draw, but FC Lorient, who are based in France, got involved. And obviously very close to our own name, Leyton Orient. We thought we'd have a bit of fun with that and put a beret and a baguette on Spider-Man, which tend to do really well. Just one of those things where, like you're saying, you don't know what's going to go viral, but didn't even throw a caption on that one, just put it out there thinking it would just get a few cheap laughs, and yeah, 40k likes later, we were at the center of another good meme. We had a few things throughout that. We did our draw. We wanted to do like a video on and maybe get celebrities involved and stuff like that, but in the end we just tried to do a kind of text-based Twitter draw, which again saw ridiculous engagement, that kind of stuff we've never seen. So coming on to some of the numbers for March there, for us to have reached 55.6 million impressions across the tournament, new followers 23,000. To put that into context, when we started that month we had 50,000 followers, so we grew by nearly 50% in the space of 30 days, which pretty rare for a club of our size to have that level of growth. But again, it just showed how we were able to do that with something which was a fairly basic idea, which we think we executed fairly well. On top of that as well was the written coverage, radio, TV. We're across everything on BBC. I've never really been one for interviews. My job is to interview other people or bring people into interviews. So when people were ringing and asking to speak to me, I was a bit weird about it. And I've probably only been at the club about 2 weeks as well, so it'd been a bit of a whirlwind to go into doing all that, but it was great to put our club kind of, you know, in those areas which you don't really get to, in the New York Times and all these places we're popping up was great. And as I mentioned earlier, in terms of raising money, we were able to raise £80,000 in the end. 60k of that went to the clubs who was really struggling and couldn't get anyone through the gates, and, you know, almost going out of business in a way. In fact, you know, sadly one of them did, as well as mind, mental health, and the coronavirus effort. So absolutely thrilled to have not just, you know, created this great content, but for actually put some money into charities was fantastic, and that was something we can always look back and be really proud of. Well, one thing I didn't mention as well actually is how it was kind of executed in terms of the streaming element of it. We launched our own Twitch to stream our games. We actually got beat in the first round by Lokomotiv Moscow, so we weren't in for very long, but it was fantastic to see. I think we had 13,000 viewers live watching it, which is fantastic. And from that point on, we encouraged other clubs to launch Twitch channels and to put their content out through there and to do it live, and in doing that kind of made a network of content which we didn't necessarily have to manage, but it was kind of under the brand the whole time. So it was something that again had snowballed to that sense, and you know, with so many games to manage, it was tough for us to do it through one channel. So that was the kind of best way to do it. And we saw a lot of clubs kind of venturing into Twitch and into streaming for the first time who were a bit perhaps not Premier League clubs like ourselves, yeah, in League 2 or League 1, for example. So we kind of opened up new worlds for there as well, which is interesting. So just 3 kind of takeaways, if you are to take away anything from this, is to be brave and be bold. We could have just sat back and not got involved in that time, or we could have, you know, just gone on and played noughts and crosses, but before actually we've got an opportunity to do something here. But what I would say is to always do it in a calculated way. I was told when I came into this job is just go in and, you know, do low risk things to begin with and just get your feet under the table. But it's not always the best way to do things. So you'll know from your brand what works and what doesn't. And sometimes you can be a bit nervous when you're about to send that tweet button, but sometimes that nervous energy is good energy, and it can turn out to be some of the best things you ever do. So pay close attention to your energy, talk to people before you do potentially risky things, and if you can share that burden or share that responsibility, then that'll always be good. You won't feel necessarily all that pressure yourself. Pay close attention to trends in your social media world. This has been covered before, and I'm sure we covered again. Just listen, look, watch. If you're consuming social media yourself, then you're always going to be taking in things that you might not even understand at first. Me and Leyton Orient are quite new to TikTok, and it's a crazy world which I can't say I completely get at the moment, but we're learning and trying to grow on that at the moment. And just finally, have fun with what you're doing and use your personality. Your biggest strength is you as a person on social media. If you try and copy too much or be too generic, then it won't really come across. So you are a unique person, and that can be your strength at times. So if you can bear that in mind and try to best put that towards your own community and sometimes wider communities, then I think put yourself in really good stead. So yeah, similarly, we can talk about that anymore in breakout rooms if you like, but that in a nutshell was how Ultimate Quarantine went down.
Amazing, thank you, Lou. That's fantastic championship and amazing work on coordinating all that. I can imagine it was quite an undertaking.
I had very late sleepless nights.
Oh gosh, I bet. Yeah, amazing stuff. Okay, so Abby, would you like to take the reins?
Yeah, perfect. So I thought I'd just chat to you guys first of all. I mean, I think it follows on really nicely going after Luke and talking about the tone of voice, and following on from being obviously a football club as well. So I thought I'd just chat to you guys and then show you a couple of examples. So tone of voice is obviously massive coming from a club, whether they're Premier League, Championship, League One, because you are a window into that club. And it's the same with whatever brand you are bridging that gap between your organisation and the fans and your audience. Obviously, City have quite a big following, and with that, there could be a tendency to come across maybe a little bit corporate, But we really work hard to sort of stay away from that, and we do try to be a little bit cheeky sometimes that maybe some of the other bigger Premier League clubs wouldn't be able to do. We do try and push the boundaries a little bit. That's not to say that we're going out being offensive or making crazy remarks. It's just that if there's that line and you're thinking, I was like, would this do well? Again, it's that what Clem was saying. You don't know if something's going to be viral. You can't say this is going to do amazingly well. But if you have that idea and you're thinking, we're going to have to take a bit of a risk to see if this goes, then yeah, obviously you never know whether it's going to pay off or not. But we do try to take those risks when we can. But it's also really appropriate to know the tone. So there'll be times where it is appropriate to make more of a joke out of something or to have a bit of banter with another club, but obviously knowing that there's other things going on and when to sort of put your like Man City hat on of representing the wider organisation. So I thought I'd show you a couple of tweets because I thought it was really important, obviously during this year, going into lockdown with the current COVID climate. It was really important that we got that balance right of still being entertaining, still making sure that we were being that fun voice, but also knowing that there's something massive going on in the world. There's a global pandemic and you have to adhere to that, and you've got to be almost a support. So I'll just share my screen with you now. There we go. So it's getting the balance right, I think, is really appropriate. So while we're joking around, while we're maybe posting goal clips, like Luke was saying, there was no football going on. Our fans weren't allowed in stadiums. We were all at home. We were all in the same position. And actually having a City TV team that might come up with amazing compilation video and then thinking of some copy to go with it and some cool graphics, that would do well. But actually stripping it back during that time, knowing what was going on in the world and just posting a simple message of look after each other and we'll see you soon. The fans actually responded really well to that because, again, like I was saying earlier, that bridging that gap between us as a club and the fans, it was letting them know that we're thinking of them, we're here for them. And actually in the comments, it was really lovely. It was fans interacting with each other and us. And it was a really nice sort of community and everyone coming together. And like Luke was saying earlier, other football clubs as well, because we were all in the same boat. But also then posting out, so like the other one, the miss you XOXO, like that kind of thing, keeping it still lighthearted as the weeks go on, because obviously we didn't know when we were going to be back. We didn't know when games were going to be back, when lockdown would end. So it was just really important for us to sort of keep tiptoeing around those different tones and knowing, having that support, but also the element of sort of lightheartedness as well. One thing that was really important for us connecting fans, I'm sure you guys are all the same, I was when I first started on Twitter, that you think if I tweeted a celebrity or a musician or something, you're thinking they are never going to see this or no one's ever going to read my comment. But we really try hard in the community management area. We've actually brought it in the past 2 seasons where one of us will take the morning and one of us will take the afternoon, and all we will do is community management, where we go through all the comments, all the quote tweets, and try and reply to fans as much as we can, try and interact with them, because often you find really nice stories in there as well, like people, particularly during lockdown, were finding ways to be inventive. And there was one boy who recreated the Aguero goal, and because we were sat looking through those comments, we were able to see that and interact with it. Yeah, one thing that we did start is because we wanted to really reach out and we wanted to be talking to fans and providing them with a bit of entertainment as well, because like you guys, we were all sat at home, we're thinking, right, we need to do something here that's going to keep fans occupied during the day, because everyone's sat on their phones or on their computers all day. So we decided to do a goal jukebox where fans could request a goal. So we had goals being requested from the 1970s. We had ones from last season. We had ones from maybe 10 years ago. And they would ask for the goal and we would respond with the video. And it was a really nice reaction from the fans, actually, because I think a lot of them were surprised that we were actually doing it. It took a lot of work because it required somebody going through every single one of the requests on the Goal Jukebox hashtag, but then also going in and clipping up the goals, finding the goals. But as you can see from these examples here, it sort of a nice tone. So yeah, here you go. I'll do one better for you, and giving them a little bit extra. And I think that was a really good way of, while there's no football going on, still keeping a little bit of football content, but also having that connection with the fans. So that was one bit that I was really sort of quite proud of, really enjoyed doing over lockdown. So that's on Twitter. And then on Instagram, we use Instagram a lot as a club, particularly stories. We're one of probably the only Premier League clubs that has a presenter, which is me and Adam. And it is that element of, like Billy was saying right at the beginning, and like Luke was saying before, the personality is really important for us. Speaking to fans directly. So at matches, we do an Instagram story, but we did quizzes during lockdown, we still do them. And having a personality behind it and speaking to them directly, somebody is holding their phone and they feel like the club is directly talking to them. And I think that's something that you guys can easily try. Most of you, I'm sure, will have Instagram, and that's how I sort of started doing it on my own Instagram. I'd just be chatting to my friends on Instagram stories, doing surveys, polls, questions, that kind of thing. And it's really easy for you guys to practice it. And I think it's a really useful tool to be able to have that direct connection, literally speaking to somebody on their phone. And during lockdown as well, so not only did we do quizzes, we had Instagram lives with players. So we did live interviews. So there was one with Alexander Zinchenko there. And again, that brings showing the fans that we still want to. So I was saying to Alex, oh, I've got a message for the fans. So he was then able live on Instagram to send a message of support, saying that he can't wait to see them all again and that he's really missing them and that kind of thing. And then we have the more simple sort of graphic side of it as well, where fans were able to put in their city favourites. I'm sure you saw a lot of these going around during lockdown where people do sort of their favourite, my Disney favourites or that kind of thing. But these little elements all together just shows the fans that they are at the heart of everything that we do, that we want them to be as involved as we possibly can. So that's a really useful tool for us, and Instagram is probably one of my favorite to use just because of that element. I also wanted to touch on having fun with it. The most important thing, like Luke was saying, having fun with content. Now, these are from, so the last tweets I was talking about come from our main global account. And pretty much everything we do goes on that global account. But obviously, you can understand we have the need for a separate esports account, but we do retweet a lot of the esports stuff and we engage with the esports stuff. The esports stuff, I think, so we've got about 22,000 followers on there, whereas on our global account, we've got about 9 million just on Twitter. So sometimes when we retweet esports stuff, maybe it doesn't get as many likes, but again, like Billy was saying earlier, it's that consistency. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't get a load of retweets, a load of likes. But this was one that we were able to really use to our advantage, where if you follow football, I'm sure you might have seen during the summer, there was a lot of speculation about a certain player coming to the club. So a lot of people thought Lionel Messi was going to be signing for City. And all of the comments and a lot of the replies that we were getting on Twitter was just about Messi. And we obviously can't engage with any of those, and it was quite difficult at the time, but it then gave us this opportunity we were launching this. So Moonchester is our club mascot. We were doing a Fall Guys mascot design competition, and we were going to be launching it on this day anyway. We always knew we were, and we were just going to post it out with, oh, here's the template, guys, off you go, enjoy, send us your favorite ones. And we thought, actually, there's an opportunity here to have a little bit of fun with it without being offensive, without actually upsetting anyone or doing anything wrong, but just the simplicity of using the goat emoji or talking about the teaser, which is the first one there, is our new Man City signings from out of this world. Now he's from out of this world because Moonchester's an alien, but everyone in the comments, and you can see from the engagement there on the esports, bearing in mind we only have 22,000 followers on that esports account, a lot of people thought that that was a hint that we were maybe signing a player, but and maybe some people were a little bit upset with that, but it's just about having fun. Again, we're all cooped up at home and we're all trying to deal with it the best we can, but actually having little fun bits and pieces like that sort of keeps you going, and it was fun to see everyone's reactions to that as well. So yeah, just finish that. I think there's a question. So yeah, it's just an element of, Oliver's just asked me if I was sharing my screen. I thought I was sharing my screen, so if I wasn't, I'm very sorry, but I did just show a little PowerPoint presentation. It was just pictures of tweets. So if you guys want, I can send you those separately. It's just some examples. But yeah, so as I say, as much as everyone else has said, that bridging the gap with the fans, personality at the heart of it, but also the consistency is a huge part of it. So I'm looking forward to like some of your questions. I'm sure you've got some, so I'll speak to you guys in the breakout room later. But yeah, thank you very much.
Amazing, Abby, thank you so much. Just before we head to a short break, Abby, did you want to address the question? So how can people join the esports community? Is it a wide-ranging thing? Is there a particular thing you'd recommend them doing? Well, I could open that to anyone, actually. Oh, sorry.
That's the beauty of social media with any community, not just esports, but it gives you the opportunity to be able to get involved in stuff that you don't have to be an expert in something, because there are people there that know a lot about it that would be able to help you with that. So I think joining it is as simple as just following different accounts on various social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, watching things on YouTube. Then you quickly find out, I'm sure it's with any community really, once you start following one person, then a lot tend to follow, and you tend to start seeing other people being involved and tagged in stuff, and it broadens that community and brings it to you. But yeah, I'd say it's just a case of just throwing yourself in and getting immersed in it.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think there isn't really, the great thing about esports is there isn't any real barriers to being involved. All of the content is available for free. All you need to be able to kind of get involved and join the community and start talking to people about esports is just to, you know, be involved on the social media channels, reply to your favorite players or accounts or personalities or casters or whoever that you want to communicate with. Find the right places in subreddits or Twitter accounts or Facebook pages that have the same kind of community kind of values as you do. I think at Fnatic, at least, I know that we like to keep our Discord as a place where community go and just talk with each other. It's a big kind of place for fans to go and discuss, you know, games or titles. There are channels for each individual game or title or personality that we have, lots of different languages as well. So in terms of joining the community, there is no, you don't have to have a Sky Sports subscription. You don't have to, you know, you can consume your esports content however you like to be part of it. There are different places to go if you want to, such as Reddit, Discord. Every team basically has its own Discord channel. So if you have a favorite team, you can join them and talk about the favorite team with other people. But if you're talking about being more of a, I guess, growing your own presence within the community and becoming more of a recognized presence, then you have to start going a little bit further and creating content. And again, this is the same thing we could be coming back to. It's all about consistency, whether you're running a Twitch stream or a YouTube channel. A lot of the biggest and most popular people in the esports industry or in the esports community now started by making videos where they were just commentating over games and highlights and uploading those to YouTube, talk shows to talk about these subjects. There are lots of people with big opinions that want to express them. So maybe run a talk show, or maybe create some kind of content, whether it's fun memes or more in-depth serious stuff. There is an audience for it.
Amazing, Clem. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Abby, as well. And I think just to pick up on that point before we go to break, I think joining the esports community is about consistency. It's about getting involved. I often say to young creatives who are thinking, how on earth do I bridge the gap between having no knowledge and becoming someone who's in this industry and known? And the answer 99.9% of the time is you've just got to get going and do it. And the people that get involved in our communities and the people that make the effort to do so are the ones who will end up being the people who are successful in any creative industry, I think.
Yeah, we have at Fnatic, we have 3 full-time members of staff who got the job basically because they were posting really cool graphics or video of fan content about Fnatic and tagging us and tagging our players. We saw it and brought them on board as an intern or as a freelancer, and then they joined the company full time. So their esports is great in that way, in that it is a small enough industry and a small enough kind of community that we are still, everybody's always looking for a talent and people with kind of creative input. And I know that us as Fnatic are not alone in doing that kind of thing. Fan content and community content, if you show some skill or show some aptitude and a love for the game and the team, then there's every chance to kind of to progress with that.
Lovely. Amazing. Aspirational content here, guys. You can do it. You can become who you want to be. Okay, so what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to go on a short break. However, what I'm going to do is give you who you're going to be assigned to after the break. So we're just going to use a 10-minute break to set up the breakout rooms. So Celine and Andre, you're going to be assigned to Clem. Ruben and Arian, you're going to be assigned to Luke. And Amanda and Matul, you'll be assigned to Abby after the break when we do the breakout rooms. But before we do that, essentially what's going to happen now is we're going to ask you guys to stay in the chat and then just keep your mic muted. You can go and get a drink or go to the toilet, that kind of thing. We're going to come back at 11:20, so in about 9 minutes time. And then I'm going to set your brief for next week, and of course we're going to have 2 winners of HyperX gaming headsets, which is going to be very exciting. So we're going to set your brief, and then we're going to put you into the breakout rooms for you to chat with your respective industry people, and we'll go from there. Lovely. Okay, guys, so let's get back into it. I'm just going to share my screen once more. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do a slight swap around, and I'm going to set you guys your brief for what we'll be looking for you to come up with next week. And then I'm going to push you into your breakout rooms with your respective industry professionals to discuss your brief. And this is the perfect opportunity for you guys to discuss pretty much anything you want with your industry professionals. Of course, remember that these 3 are from industry. They're doing this job as their main work, and it's an unprecedented opportunity to quiz them on anything to do with social media or esports. So what I'd like you guys to do is I would like you by next Friday, so for next Friday's session, I'd like to produce a collection of Instagram posts advertising your involvement in the tournament if you are playing. If you are not playing in Esports Championship, the next slide will detail your alternative brief. So produce a series of Instagram posts advertising your involvement in the tournament with the hashtag Yop Esports Champs. I'd also like you guys to produce a series of tweets showcasing your preparation for the tournament. Now, I want this to be quite broad, so I'm interested in you guys interpreting this however you like and using the information you've gained today to be creative and incorporate your personality into your chosen branding strategy. I'd also like you guys to consider as an additional opportunity to launch a TikTok account if you've not got one already, and consider how this might be used in your marketing. Now, the reason I said that is because TikTok has risen to prominence as one of the main social media channels, and brands are consistently looking for how they expose to audiences on these new mediums. And I'd like you to explore the styles of those you admire, enjoy, and consider brilliant. So start gaining inspiration. You've got 3 people here to gain inspiration from today. So to sum that up, I'd like to produce definitely a series of Instagram posts with a hashtag and tweets as well with the same hashtag. And I'd also like to consider a TikTok account and exploring some styles. For those of you who are not playing in the tournament, that's fine. I'd like you to create a collection of Instagram posts showcasing how you are developing your brand image. And the same thing, tweets showcasing your tone of voice, which Abby and Luke in particular talked about today, appropriate for your planned audience. And this is where I would suggest some creativity, and I'd suggest doing some research on how you might create these and what kind of audience you may be looking towards. So for example, if you're a NBA 2K player, you might want to look at the audience for that particular game, look at the esports players who are playing it right now, what kind of content they produce, and consider emulating that or producing your own style version of it. Additionally, again, consider a TikTok account and exploring the styles of those you admire. So guys, what I'm going to expect is when you come back next Friday, I will be giving you a link to put your content into a kind of folder. And then what we'll be doing, we'll turn it around as soon as we can, and I'll send that content over to our panel, which will be the industry members here today, and of course Oliver from London United and Hugo. And then they will come up with a couple of winners, and the winners will receive they'll receive one each, not two, because we only do one headset each, don't we? You're going to win a HyperX headset. So a fantastic opportunity for you guys to not only develop your social media strategy and branding, but also win a shiny piece of gear in addition to that. Now, to help you guys out with this, before I send you off, I've created a list of what I would suggest you start using or thinking about in terms of creating gorgeous content. Now, we talked a lot about social media and how how the principles are and the fundamentals today, but what we've not really touched upon is how you actually make it. Now, we've not got time today for me to give you tutorials on all these pieces of software. And what I've done is I've just created a list of stuff that you guys can explore in terms of how you actually start creating visually interesting work. So if you've got a PC or a Mac or a MacBook, then you can start looking at some of this content. A lot of it is paid or subscription based, and I've tried to note down where it is subscription based. So Adobe, the whole suite tends to be the most professional thing on the market. As a student, you can get this for £16 a month. But for you guys, you might not be in a position to afford that, and I understand that. So you may need to look at some alternative free software, such as GIMP, which is online, Paint.net, PicMonkey you can get for a trial for free, iMovie on a Mac. There's so much stuff you guys can use for free. If you want to get into live streaming, why not try OBS and create some content like that? Or Shadowplay if you're on computer as well. If you guys are playing on PlayStation or Xbox, you can quite easily share and record your gameplay directly to your wherever, and then you can create something engaging from that. For those of you who literally just have a phone, why don't you have a look at some of the free software? I think Photoshop Mix is free, as is Lightroom possibly. And then you've got InShot, you've got VSCO, you've got Over, Preview, you've got so much stuff to play with to start to come up with your branding strategy. And a flaw of some of the social media is you can't actually see how it's going to look if you add multiple things. So Preview on your phone allows you to see the Instagram layout and drop some images in to start to see how you can customize your layout to be interesting. So this all comes back into that 70-20-10 strategy of if 70% of that content is content you produce to give to people for free, then how do you do that? And my suggestion would be to use this list to start, have a look on your phone and having a look what software you can access to create stuff. If you Google meme generators, there's going to be plenty for you as well. And also, this presentation will be sent over to you guys. I've given you a page of resources. These are all clickable links that will go to a respective page. There is some great stuff in here. For example, aspect ratio guide for posting on social media. Just to plant this in your brain, if you've ever noticed that everything we look at is a rectangle, there's a reason for that. And your phones are, of course, longer rectangles to dumb it down a little bit. So what you guys need to consider is how you produce stuff in the correct aspect ratio, which is, of course, the size of your screen, respective for different platforms. So Instagram Reels is square, whereas YouTube is often 16:9 or cinematic aspect ratio. So you need to consider how you're creating stuff and its suitability for a particular platform. I've included some production guidance. I've included several different reports where I've gained statistics from in this presentation and how to be consistent and how to use memes. And then we've got free meme makers, we've got social media style guide, and for those of you who are interested or haven't yet done it, how to start live streaming. So this is your one-stop shop for getting involved in the scene and getting some really great content created. So what we're going to do now is, with that brief in mind, I would like you guys, actually, sorry, I forgot a slide. Before we get to that, I just want to leave you a bit of inspiration, and this could be something you discuss with your respective industry professional, is that streaming is live TV reinvented. And again, thank you for Fnatic for this wonderful visual slide. And just to leave you with the fact that Twitch at the moment is looking at 11 billion hours watched in the last 12 months. 11 billion hours, which is a crazy amount. And that's a 30% growth in hours watched year on year. So in the last year, it's ballooned. 30% growth is unheard of. So you can see by this infographic in the top right, this graphic, that there's a huge growth in Twitch. And we all predict this to continue. So you guys are getting in at the perfect time to start capitalizing on the growth industry. Okay, so as mentioned, we're now going to place you into breakout rooms. What I would like you to discuss with your respective individual is your brief, so any advice or tips you might need. Now remember, these are the professionals in the industry doing this day in, day out, so they have the knowledge on how to make stuff engaging. Also, what about you discuss your experience growing up with social media and how you use it in your day-to-day life? I think we take this for granted, guys. I think we take for granted that often many of us spend 4 to 5+ hours a day on our phone. We wouldn't have done that 100 years ago, would we? So have a think about how you are engaging with social media and how you can use that knowledge of yourself to appeal to other people like you. And I can guarantee all the people in this room you're going to talk to, you're going to have a very good knowledge of how social media is used and how they might use it, and how do people use it? How does Clem, Abby and Luke use their social media day to day? Is it different to you guys, and how can you gain some insight from that? And finally, could you discuss your personal branding? Could you discuss how you might want to evolve, how you might want to gain some tips, or how your visual identity might be? If you guys haven't got a mic, that is fine. So in the breakout rooms, there will be an opportunity to chat and just drop some things in chat with that. So Hugo, I'm going to ask in a second for you to put these guys into their respective rooms. Before we do that, guys, oh, sorry, Arian, I just noticed what type of Instagram post. So I would say, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I would say that essentially it's up to you. So it's up to you to interpret this how you want. But I would suggest that you probably want to use a stories in addition to posts. And also you might want to use videos in addition to still images. So it is up to you how you want to do it. But I would suggest you start with photo or video, Instagram stories, all that kind of stuff. Guys, what I'm going to suggest is once your breakout room comes to a natural conclusion, that is a good point for you to agree to leave the session with the person who is chairing your breakout room. It's been fantastic to see you all today, and I hope you've enjoyed the insights to do with this session. If you have any questions, please ask them in your breakout room. And like I said, the session is officially ending at 12. But I imagine that there might be a point where there's a natural conclusion to your conversations. So any questions, please fire away. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the breakout room. So Hugo, if you could please push the magic button when you're ready, please.
Just say thank you very much to everyone for participating as well, to Clem, Luke and Abby, really insightful. I think the guys and girls that have joined are really lucky to get the benefit of your experience, and I'm sure can learn quite a lot from you in the breakout rooms. As Billy said, don't need to use the half hour, just let it come to a natural conclusion. I think we'll probably be able to get 3 HyperX headsets, so 1 for each mentor to essentially judge. And Billy, thank you very much for your support and deliverance today.